Welcome to the Black Sheep Researcher, where we search for the truth, outcast style. Right, the purpose of today's video, I'll have to go off my notes because I've got so much. Right, the purpose of today's video is it's on the great empire called Tartaria. Now, a lot of people have heard it as Tartaria, but that is the Latin version. The proper name is Tartary, which is Tartary. Now, what I've done in my research, predominantly for this video, is I want to go back to the origins. Where did it come from? Where did it start? What's the importance of the flag? Things like that. That's generally what I'm going to talk about in this video. I'll try and keep it as short as I can because I like to keep them short because people are so busy these days. Well, anyway, the old name, the original name for Tartaria was Scythia. Now that begins with a C, Scythia, and that was named after an old nomad king, the first really king of Iran and Persia, and they were great nomads. But in this purpose of the video, I'm going to show you links between Scythia and the Sumerian Empire and the Anunnaki, and which I believe that Tartaria was the first New World Order, and it was predominantly based from the Scythia and Sumerian civilization. Right. So I've told you basically where the first name was Scythia, and it was after the first name of this nomad king from Persia. So what I want to talk about is this Tartaria a modern conspiracy, or is it the elites hiding our true history? Well, in this video, I basically want to tell you my opinion, and I want to show do I believe it's fact or fiction, and that's what I'm going to basically do on this video. Now, in medieval times, all the maps, if you type in Tartaria and you get all the maps up, basically what they're saying is, in the olden days, all the cartographers basically put Tartaria for everything. Now, because they didn't know the names. Now, that was a bit fishy, that, because as you well know, if you look onto the maps, you will see towns, cities, rivers, all named, but you don't know what country you're in. That's a feeble, lame excuse in my opinion. You wouldn't name all the little villages, all the little towns, all the big towns, all the rivers, and then just put Tartaria for the country just because that's the name that you give to every town, every country. Tartaria. No, that doesn't work for me. That's just like a feeble, lame excuse. When you're doing the maps, if you can name a little river and a town all over these maps, you are not going to leave before saying, oh, what's the name of the country? You just don't. I mean, a lot in the olden days, the medieval times and things like when they were doing maps, some of the people making the maps didn't actually leave wherever they was, and they just got it from people who were travelling. But still, you're not gonna just name everywhere. Like Tartaria was the great Tartar, from the Tartars of the empire. You're just not gonna name everything Tartaria everywhere. It just doesn't make sense for me. Now, the first things what you should do when you're looking into Tartary is just type into Google and look at the map, look at the flag. Now you'll see that it is a black griffin embossed onto the yellow. Now, when I saw this flag for the first time, because I'm looking into the ancient civilization of Sumeria and the Anunnaki and the kings, it rang a bell for me straight away. I just noticed the griffin looks familiar. Now, in this video, I will explain to you who and what I believe that flag represents and who it represents. Now, what I'll start with, I'll just basically start you who I believe that is. Now, I believe the griffin represents Anzu. He was Anunnaki, Sumerian god. They believed he was the one that stole the tablets of destiny because he wanted to rule the gods. Now, there's loads of tales that he got killed, but there's no definite, because it's all lost through time, so no one really knows what happened to him. Now, it's my opinion that the Tartary Empire is based on the followers from him. He's on the flag, he's the griffin. I will put all the pictures to show you, and the resemblance is striking, but it's not just I'm not just going off the Griffin and then saying it's him. I'm showing you a connection to the Sumerians and other things that you will see in this video. It was rather exciting for me. I really enjoyed this research. Now, what I can say about him is, I just have to get my notes because there's not that many. Now, why do I think it's Anzu? Right, the original name for Tartaria, as I said, it was Scythia, and they were a nomad tribe, right? And they were from the Persia, or Iran it is today. And well, the Sumerians' land basically went over into Persia. Borders weren't the same as it was now, but basically they shared religions and gods and cultures, basically shared everything, because it was basically there, because it doesn't actually name what part of Persia Scythia was. You know, you'll see it on the maps, but they were nomad tribes, so they're going to be everywhere. Now, what I'm going to say is that the people of that ancient time used to pray to Anzu to halt the north winds, because he was that powerful. The cold north winds, they wanted to stop them, so they would pray to Anzu. So there's a straight link straight away from the Persians with Anzu, the Griffin. Now, in Persia, you will find griffins everywhere, from Perpolis and through Europe, they're everywhere. But I'll get onto that when I'm talking more about that. Anyway, so they followed similar gods, nomads, and used to pray to also a local tribe. Now this pronunciation, this is going to be so bad, but just bear with me. There was a local tribe from Scythia called Aramis Sapia. Now legend says these were one-eyed. I don't know if they were giants, but I'll show you pictures that I've got off the internet, but obviously it's just fictional art. But some are on pottery, but are not the same. Anyway, these were a tribe of one-eyed people. Now, we know that is a Cyclops, but also the Griffin. They used to have ongoing battles with the Griffin. And even in pottery, the Griffin and the tribe of one-eyed people are seen together. And as we know, the Anunnaki wanted gold. They've gone all over the globe, from South Africa, which you can see in Enki's calendar or Adam's calendar. So they've been everywhere. There's links with them being in, South America, because of the kings that look like the lizards and similar to the Anunnaki. So basically, this is the first new world order. Now the Anunnaki wanted the gold. Now, if you believe in the myths, we were made by DNA, manipulation, and made to go and mine this gold. Now, I'll mention it now, but I'll talk about it again. I found like a golden not statue or ornament, or it was adorned on something. This piece of Scythian gold is identical to the tree of life, the DNA tree of life in Anunnaki, which you've seen. Either two birds or the two gods, and it's a tree, and it's the DNA helix. Now, there is another straight link between the two nations. It was side by side, that shared everything. Now, so it's my belief, like I just said, the mighty great Tartaria started from Scythia, from the nomads, and with the connections to the sumeria and the Anunnaki. Now, this is where it gets interesting and a bit weird, and a bit just of me making up. So, it's not my belief, but it just seems weird how I came up with this. Anzu, or his name is Imdugud, which was Imdugud, was known as the Wise One of Heaven. So this is where I'm going to go with this. So just remember this, the Wise One of Heaven. And coincidentally, there's another flag of Tartaria. I don't know if it was a navy or you'll find the odd flag of it. Was the same yellow, but with an owl. Now, what do we know owls represent? It's wisdom. So automatically I've showed you the Griffin, which is identical to Anzu. Anzu is called the Wise One of Heaven, and they also got an owl that represents wisdom. Too much of a coincidence for me. Also, if you take into the fact that Inanna is represented by owls too, so there's another link to the Sumeria. Also, that Inanna was supposedly used to have like a favourite place was in Ukraine, and that was called Arata. Now, some scientists and people reckon they don't actually know the location. They just know that it's either Russia or Iran, which is similar to what I'm talking about now. And what ties that in is an Anzu symbol, which is the eight-sided star or the eight-sided rosette, has been found in the Ukraine, 28,000 years old plus. That's what they say, but we know carbon dating is not accurate. But I'm showing you links between Tartaria and the Sumerians and the Anunnaki, which is too much to dismiss in my opinion. But what's creepy as well is, if you know your secret societies, you've heard of the the Bohemian Grove and the owl. Now, that is too much of a link to dismiss. We know it's on the $1 bill, and a lot of people theorise that it's Baal. But I'll talk about it later, but I will mention this. Baal is also represented by the Griffin too, and that is too much to even ignore as well. So you're talking about all these griffins that's linked with these gods, that it's too much to dismiss from a flag. Why would you have the Griffin as the flag for all this great state if it wasn't a new world order and it was controlled by the Sumerians? Because if you know your Sumerian history, you know the Sumerians used to have cities within cities. They were like governed separately. It wasn't, but under the one, but it was still run separately from each god. And I've also mentioned the link that the gold statue, the sculpture, is identical as a Sumerian DNA tree of life, and I include all these pictures in it. But it was just when I saw it, and it was Scythian gold. As soon as I saw it, I said, that doesn't look like the double helix, the tree of life that we all see in reference to the Anunnaki and the Sumerians. Now, this is another interesting bit that I found while researching. Now, in my research, I found out that Tartaria, whatever you want to pronounce it, was broken into 12 kingdoms. So that's 12 kingdoms, 7 in Europe and 5 in Africa. Now, that made me think straight away, because I've done research on the coincidence of 12 in history. Now, some of you will know, obviously a lot of you will know that there's 12 gates of heaven. There's 12 tribes of Israel, 12 fruits on the tree of life, 12 stars in the EU flag, the 12 signs of the zodiac, and there's many, many more, the 12 imams. So what I'm trying to get at is this reason there's 12 kingdoms of Tartaria. Is it in reference to the 12 apostles, the 12 gates of heaven? Is there, because they like to use numbers, why wouldn't you have 13 or less states or countries? Why 12? So that's just a point I want to bring up that's interesting me too. Now, what I found interesting is that the Griffin can be found everywhere, from statues in London. Basically, what used to be the gates of London, there's Griffins on there. Washington DC is a dome with them everywhere. Griffins, federal buildings, everywhere. So you're getting this Griffin everywhere. The Vatican even has them. Now, when you're into your secret societies and your conspiracy theories, whatever you want to call it, you will notice that they're the three main empire, where everything is supposedly run from. The financial is London, the media and all that from America, and the religion from the Vatican. But what got me as well is this Griffin is on flags. I can't name how many flags this Griffin is on, because if you think about it now, is the stages of the Griffin that they used to change. They ended up going to an eagle because it looked it on. You notice from the 33rd Mason symbol to the black eagle was from the Griffin. So they're like the stages of its development. So you can see how far this reaches and why it's so interesting to me. And another creepy thing is that the old Rothschilds royal, the crest has griffins on. The Queen has griffins. Now, what was funny is that if you remember back what I said about Anzu, he wanted to be in charge of all the gods, so he stole the tablets of destiny. Now, these tablets were supposedly able to control the universe. Now, if you're not sure, because I am, obviously, because I'm from the UK, but when anyone gets not knighted, when like queens become kings and queens, they have to go through a ceremony, and basically the queen's chair is on top of a stone called a scone stone. The scone stone. Oh god, that was a mouthful, that. But it's also named as Destiny, the Destiny Stone. Just a strange coincidence that this Griffin's Anzu trying to get this tablets of destiny. The Queen sits on the throne of the Destiny. Just too much coincidence for me that I couldn't ignore. Now, something else that shocked me when I was researching this. Sorry, I'm looking down, but I've got my notes, and there's only so much you can keep up here. Now, in medieval times, and the church, the people in the church, basically the Christians at the time, they adopted the Griffin as a symbol for Christ. Now, why would you do that? Is this in reference to Anzu? Because what I want to show you now is, Anzu, other name is I'm the God. Now, if you break that down slowly, now and it was D-U and then G-U-D, I'm the good. Split it up again, I am. I'm the God. So is Anzu's other name, I'm the good, means I'm the God. And he was in reference that he controlled the underworld and things like this. He's called the Wise One and the underworld. Now, if you think about it in your Greek folk myths and folklore, the underworld, not the underworld as such, it's where they kept the Titans. That was called Tartarus. It's similar to Tartaria. Now, also, Anzu was joined with Taurus, the constellation, and Pegasus. Pegasus had wings, as you know, the horse. Now, but that just freaked me out a bit. Why would the church and the people use a griffin as a symbol for Christ from the medieval times? Now, you still got the Vatican's got loads of griffin statues and pictures. You name it, it's not hard to find. Now, a lot of the royals used to have the griffin because of its strength, its power, its nobility. But what if this was like a direct line from these kings and queens, because they all interbreed and keep it within house? Are these the royal bloodline from the first king of Scythia, where griffins was such high esteem and power? They used to protect the gold, so there was nothing more important. And the griffin throughout the ages has been known to be good and bad, taking in souls. But now it's more to good. It's even in films as like Harry Potter, but that's the Hippogriff or something. But that is from a griffin, even though that's a horse. But it's just how the stages of it's made. So if you think about this now, what I've talked about now is I've showed you a link between from the gold, from the statues to the Anunnaki, the owls to do with the Inanna and Anzu. It's just too much that you cannot see to not think, wow, this is way interesting. Now, a lot of people researching Tartaria, pronunciation of the mud flood, and how they were advanced, the architecture, but I just wanted to go a different way because I'm into the ancient civilizations, and as soon as I saw the flag and the griffin popped up, I just knew that was Anzu, because it's just so, like, it's near enough identical. And then the more I looked into it, I just found more links with griffins, how they're everywhere from, like I said, Washington, how they're in all the countries, Greece, Turkey. Now, because what they're saying is, if you go back even further, all these tribes like Genghis Khan, the Mongols and nomads, all these tribes were under this one flag of Tartaria and the griffin. Now, there's slight variants on it, like being a dragon and things, but they all come from the griffin. So why would you have that one flag, the main flag, which is just too much to think? Are they hiding history? Is it a conspiracy? Is it Mandela effect? I'm leaning towards the hiding the history, because there's just too much evidence linking it to the Sumerians, the Anunnaki, that region, errata. There's just too much. Now, gods. When it comes to gods, the Griffin gets about a bit. It really does. It's associated with Apollo. Now, you're the sun god, day, both day and night. Now, we know that's reference to, but did you know his chariot was pulled by griffins? So there we go. We're getting links to gods now with the griffins. Now, there's also another god called Nemesis, and this was like the god of revenge, avenging, and basically took it out on like the mere mortals types of things. Now, she was pulled by griffins as well on her chariot. Zeus had a griffin as a companion, right? Athena, there's a famous statue of her that her helmet has got griffins on. Dionysus, which was another one from, it's linked to being Inanna but reborn, basically, through the ages, because we know they always use the same gods with different names. She was driven by griffins too. And like I said before, the griffin is connected to Baal too. And then you got Bohemian Grove with the owl, Anzu, the wise one of heaven. It's not too much of it strange to think, is this who they are worshipping? Changing God, the symbol in it from the medieval times, the symbol for Christ, for God, was a griffin. All this from looking at a flag at this ancient history. Now you can see it in modern times. If you're into your cars, the Griffin, it's on the cars like Vauxhall and Saab. So basically what I wanted to do in this quick video was just basically, from seeing the flag, I theorised that the great Tartaria Empire was started in a place called Scythia. Well, it's its own name. You can research all this. You can find it. It's not me just making up. These were in old books that the Tartaria Empire started from Scythia. Now, that's why I believe, when I show you the gold in the pictures, that there's just too much of a link to not say that it's the Sumerians, because I've also in other videos I've showed you how the great pyramids of Giza, what the main pyramid was made for Inanna, because it's eight-sided. It represents the eight-sided star and the rosette, and also that the Sphinx, which is another one, is related to the Griffin. It's just too much to ignore. And for me, the great Tartary Empire was based from Anzu, the wise one of heaven. Now, was he good? Was he bad? You just can't rely. I'm just going off what I found and the links. Why have the Griffin everywhere? It's not just a nice ornament. We know they use symbolism for everything. It's in the, the EU flag's got in 12 stars. There's 12 kingdoms of Tartaria. 7 in Europe, 5 in Africa. So you're talking Tartaria spanned basically all the world. So basically it was the first New World Order, under one flag, under one thing in common: Anzu, the wise one of heaven. And that was his title. Right, thanks for watching The Black Sheep Researcher. Bye.